Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Christelle Wren, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at HR Locker. Today, we'll be talking about exploring the benefits of women in leadership. And I am delighted to have with me today Martina Naughton, who is the Global Partner Sales Director for Microsoft Ireland. And Martina has an amazing background in high performance computing, a great career in terms of the IT industry, looking at different technology solutions, and just a great background. I could have listened to you talk for half an hour, Martina, about just your background. But Martina, if you want to maybe give us just a welcome, first of all, and if you want to give us a brief introduction to you.
Thank you, Christelle. First of all, delighted to be here this morning. I am extremely honoured to be invited by HR Locker to talk here. So, yes, I have quite a varied background. I am currently the Global Partner Sales Director for Microsoft in Ireland. And what that actually means is I lead a team of people that work very closely with our partners in the Irish marketplace. We have up to 2,000 partners in the Irish market, and those partners collectively drive all our solution offerings. So they're fundamental to the success of the business in Microsoft Ireland. In addition to that commercial leadership role, I am also the DEI lead for Microsoft Ireland, and I'm also on a number of different steering committees associated with progressing D&I initiatives in the Irish marketplace. I actually only joined Microsoft May 2022, so it's a first time in a long time for me to be back in the Irish marketplace. Prior to that, I worked with IBM, and in IBM I led a number of Western Europe, Middle East and Africa, and global businesses. I was ultimately the European leader and the worldwide leader for high performance computing and artificial intelligence sales. I was also in that remit involved in a number of startup ventures. So quite a global view in terms of that experience. And then I guess outside of that, I, prior to IBM, have spent a great deal of time in Asia and have worked in several other large companies. But I think that my two companies, IBM and Microsoft, are probably the experiences from there are probably give a good flavour of my talk track from today.
Thanks, Martina. I'm wondering, so you spoke about your experience with the likes of IBM and Microsoft, and I feel like I can't believe we're still talking about barriers in terms of gender equality, and in terms of women facing, that still finding it difficult to reach that kind of top tier management position. In your own experience, or what do you feel are the primary barriers that women still face in the workplace today about reaching those top tier management positions?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and you are right in your comment that it's, I guess, surprising that we're having this conversation still. Yet, from my personal experience, I believe that the barriers women face in reaching senior leadership or even top management position in very large technology companies are often multifaceted. They include things like the lack of mentorship, the lack of sponsorship opportunity, gender bias in the workplace, and challenges in balancing work and personal life. Additionally, I believe that women may encounter a scarcity of role models in senior position and may face unconscious bias that can influence promotion and hiring decisions. So in our most recent Microsoft Ireland Gender Pay Report, it was a very interesting report, and it was published in 2023, a number of reasons were outlined to explain why women may not be progressing into senior leadership roles. And, I would summarize the findings there, which also basically maps to my own personal experience, under 5 headings. First, I believe that there is an underrepresentation in technical roles. So we specifically found that the mean gender pay bonus gap is primarily due to fewer women in senior technical roles, which is often a pathway to leadership roles, particularly in the ICT industry. Secondly, institutional challenges. The report, and also, from my own personal point of view, found that restrictive job descriptions and seniority requirements can perpetuate imbalances, as historically there have been fewer women in senior roles. So I believe fostering on performance objectives rather than qualifications is something that should be reflected in job posts, and it's more inclusive. Thirdly, I believe, and it's also in the report, that representation matters. Women still make up only a small percentage of global STEM. So by STEM, I mean science, technology, engineering, and maths in the workforce, and senior management positions in tech companies. At Microsoft, while the representation of women is better than the global numbers, there's still work to be done to inspire inclusion and accelerate equity. Fourthly, cultural shifts. The COVID-19 pandemic has had really a regressive effect on gender equality. So proactive measures are needed to counter these effects and advance gender equality, which could add significant value to the global GDP by 2030. And finally, retention and development. Microsoft's efforts to retain, develop, and attract women has enabled growth in women representation year on year, with the highest increases at junior levels, where there's a greatest opportunity to hire and develop. I think these insights really suggest that a multifaceted approach is needed to address the barriers women face in advancing to senior leadership roles. Microsoft has implemented various initiatives to support this, and I'll touch on those later, but they at a high level include mentoring programs and investment in STEM education for women. So I think that's the major barriers from my point of view.
Yeah, and Martina, a couple of things that I was hastily writing down. And sorry, just before I continue as well, I forgot to say that I have Jenny with me today again, just in regards to any questions and answers that people have. We'll get to the end. So if while Martina is giving words of wisdom, if you want to just drop your questions and answers into the section, and we'll get to them at the end. Martina, I did an interview with Caroline O'Driscoll last week or the week before, in regards to those kind of role model side of things, and it really resonated with me when I think of my own children. My son is 15, looking to go down the engineering route, and basically because his role model would be my father, a male role model that he has. So it's interesting when you're talking about those role models and those mentorship, that it starts at a young age right through to leadership roles, of how important it is to actually have those. To have you here today talking about that you've been there and done it. It may have been a male-dominated offices, but you were able to actually reach it. I think it's so important, and that sponsorship as well.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Totally agree.
Martina, when we talk about, I suppose, most companies now have some kind of program in regards to attracting women, retaining women, looking at women leadership. But I suppose when you talk about it, obviously it sits in a HR function, but I do think it has to be business led. What can HR leaders do to I suppose, attract and retain more women into the leadership positions, do you think?
I think there are a few key strategies that HR leaders can implement to attract and retain more women in leadership positions. I fundamentally believe that this is these strategies, which I'll cover in a moment, have the opportunity to really have an impact in the working experience of the individuals, but also the roles and responsibility of leadership. So when I actually think of a few key strategies, I think one that's really, really important is to create a culture of flexibility. Flexible work arrangements have become crucial, in my opinion, especially in the wake of remote work trends. I believe it's important, absolutely important, to prioritise performance over face time and arbitrary hours. When employees know that their unique needs are valued, they become more engaged and more productive. The second, and these are not in order of priority, they're just key strategies from my opinion. I think that offering equitable compensation is fundamental. It's essential that equal pay, we close the gap on equal pay, and it's essential that equal pay is in place to attract and retain women, particularly women in leadership. I think promoting mentorship and sponsorship is very important. I believe that developing mentorship programs, especially for women at early to mid-career stages, is very important. Providing opportunities for women to learn from more experienced leaders and to develop valuable networks that will support and promote them is key. I also believe that encouraging agency and ownership and empowering women leaders to influence their own career choices, shape the conversation about their careers, and creating personal leadership development strategies is important. I mean, I personally, for my own career, believe that I have a key role in shaping, owning, and driving my career. And I would communicate and actively share that message with my own team and my extended wider teams. So I think that agency and ownership is very, very important. And I also think it's extremely important that women are able to prioritise work-life balance. And I believe that HR leaders can play a role in developing an organisational culture that makes work-life balance a reality. Offering family-friendly benefits and encouraging all employees is a good example. And just myself personally, since I've joined Microsoft, just the family Christmas get-togethers, you know, it's a great opportunity for the whole family to come in and experience my working world, because sometimes they wouldn't, other than Mammy doing emails, they wouldn't necessarily know what I'm doing. But in actual fact, my kids get to see the environment, get to see the office. And I just think those kind of things make it and bring the wider family into it, and it facilitates a more real work-life balance type of setup. So I think they're the main recommendations that I would have.
Yeah. And do you think, Martina, I suppose the couple of things that you were, you know, we've been talking about remote working for COVID the last 4 years, and I would agree with you is that I think we've evolved from remote working to flexible working is really the crux of it, or the key to it. And a bit of a hobby horse of mine is to lecture people about that you shouldn't be watching people sitting there in the office working hours. It should be actually the productivity at the end of it, what people have actually achieved. You know, if male or female, if anybody has to run out for an hour to pick a child up, go to the gym in the morning, whatever it is, if they're actually producing their work at the end of the week, that's the key that matters. But you spoke about mentorship, and I think that I do think that that's something that often is put in place into companies, and it's just a little tick the box exercise that they'd have some mentorship program. And I like the way you spoke about that, both as an individual, you have to be responsible for your own career as well. But then I also like the idea of giving back if you are in a leadership position, both as male and female, to be able to promote those kind of mentorship programs as well. Can you share, I suppose, examples of where you've seen successful mentorship or sponsorship programs in your own career?
Absolutely. Before I go into a few examples, I just want to kind of maybe set my, you know, a little bit more context in terms of my view on mentor programs. I believe that mentor programs play close to an invaluable role in helping women navigate their professional paths. Mentors provide guidance, they share experience, they give advice on overcoming unique challenges women face in the workplace. And I believe they also can provide crucial insight, and they can build confidence and inspire mentees to aim higher. So from my point of view, I believe that in my career, that there are several examples of successful mentorship programs. And for today's conversation, I'd like to outline the ones that I've been directly involved with myself and the ones that I think have a very, very important impact to my team, to my partners, and to the Irish market. And these are mentor programs in Microsoft. So the first one that I'd like to outline is mentoring circles. So Microsoft Ireland mentoring circles, this is essentially a platform for employees to engage in peer-to-peer learning combined with mentoring. And it really creates a circle of trust among participants. The circles typically meet on a monthly basis, and there's up to 20 mentees and 3 mentors, where a wide range of topics are discussed, including the likes of career development, improving CVs, and personal branding. The aim is to empower employees by expanding their networks and fostering a collaborative learning environment. The mentoring circle also aligns with Microsoft's broader initiative, for example, the likes of AI Task Force, Copilot, Flight School. This aims to transition employees through stages of AI readiness, application and extension. And this reflects Microsoft's Ireland commitment to fostering a learn-it-all culture and allowing employees with in-demand digital AI and cybersecurity skills. So this programme really contributes to Microsoft Ireland's goal of creating an exceptional workforce and driving further investment and innovation as a part of the company's effort to attract, retrain, develop and advance employees. So it is a programme that has a far-reaching objective. In terms of other programmes, we recently announced an AI skilling programme. This was actually launched in October 23, and it's a national AI skilling programme. And the aim of this is to equip people of all ages and backgrounds with skills needed to confidently engage, understand and use artificial intelligence. I think that this is really important for industry. It's really important for schools. It's really important for people in industry, outside of industry, people considering career paths. Ultimately, it's an AI introduction course and it's designed for those with little or no understanding of AI. And as I said, it's targeting quite a wide audience, from young people, graduates and mid-career professionals. In terms of another mentoring programme that I think is highly important and effective, and it combines skilling and mentoring, is the Career Ready Initiative. We effectively, Microsoft, partnered with Junior Achievers Ireland on the Career Ready Initiative. This is, I believe, a really powerful initiative that aims to empower students and individuals by providing them with essential skills, mentorship and exposure to the world of work. So Microsoft role models and mentors play a significant role in ensuring participating students become enterprising individuals. I think the impact of a programme like this is it basically connects students with industry professionals, and Career Ready helps them explore career paths and build essential skills. You know, this is important, and it touches also, Christelle, on what you mentioned earlier about this notion of, you know, role models. It's often extremely helpful and impactful, and from my own personal experience, really gets people thinking when they get to work and engage with people who are in the job, doing the job. So I think the Career Ready Initiative is a very good example of that. Another one that I'd like to call out is a mentoring programme, a skilling and mentoring programme called Step into Tech Digital Skills. This was basically a program. It was launched a few years ago. It was developed by Microsoft Ireland, and it was done in collaboration with Fast Track to IT. The aim of this was to equip 10,000 people with essential digital skills that align with in-demand jobs of today and into the future. And it was actually at the time especially designed to respond to the challenges posed by the pandemic. But participants in this program gain practical digital skills through online training in areas such as coding, design and cloud technology. But from a mentoring and guidance point of view, they are provided one-on-one advice and mentoring. Microsoft employees contribute specifically by offering guidance on career development and soft skills. One other program that is particularly close to my own heart in my day job, as a part of one of the hats I wear, is I'm very heavily involved in driving business with our ISV, our independent software vendor partners in Ireland. And in order to provide and support for them, we have a global initiative called Founders Hub. And the idea behind Founders Hub is it supports startups literally from ideation to when they exit or mainstream their business. And it offers mentorship and business support. And there's a financial value on that. And we estimate that value is 350,000. And there's key programs in Founders Hub to support women. This program has close to 300 companies in Ireland, and at a global level, we have 29,000, but 300 in Ireland. And we've had extremely successful graduates from this program, the likes of Swoop, Mad Me Technologies and Food Cloud. And it's important to know that close to 30% of the members of Founders Hub are women. So those women who have set up their own companies can access support and funding from Founders Hub. So I guess in my own direct team, just some examples of programs and tactical, practical activities that I do. I make sure everybody has their own development plan. I ask and support my team to have multiple mentors in place. And what I mean by multiple, I mean two, ideally 3 is better. And the reason for that is I believe there's huge value in that because it gives different perspectives. It gives more support. And also I typically recommend have somebody local in the business, in the subsidiary, but then also have somebody at a regional level. I also believe sponsorship for career advancement is absolutely key for women to progress in their careers. And the impact of having a sponsor, from my opinion, is to really amplify your visibility, connect you to influential networks and support you in your career progression. So having that sponsor who is different than the mentor is very, very important. So I think these programs, these are the ones that I've specifically have been involved in and find really impactful, and also, in my opinion, demonstrate Microsoft's commitment to fostering women's leadership through mentorship and support.
Yeah, and I think you've almost answered the next question for me, Martina. But I suppose when you talk about positive outcomes from these programs, and sometimes as HR leaders, we do come up with obstacles in regards to, they're like, oh, that's just another HR initiative. That's just another thing to throw in there. Do you think when you're bringing these initiatives in, do you need to bring them back to how it's going to actually affect the bottom line of the company, that having a diverse workforce is actually going to positively impact the company?
Totally.
You know,
absolutely.
And I think that,
yeah.
And in your own experience, I suppose, how do you do that? How have you seen it somewhere else?
So I guess in terms of, mapping this back to the core business is absolutely essential. And activities that drive and support the core business are activities that become mainstreamed and become a fundamental part of the business. So in terms of, outcomes that I have seen, specifically with regards to initiatives I just mentioned, just from the mentoring circles in Ireland program, we've seen 103 mentors and 256 mentees participating in 26 unique mentoring circles. Of that number, 59 are new mentors and 173 are new mentees. I am a new mentor, and I personally find the experience very rewarding, very enriching, and I'm getting to know people that I may not otherwise have met. This programme, I believe, has provided informational sessions to support and empower mentors with the skills, resources and best practice. The mentoring fireside chats is also a part of this, and we found that they're extremely popular because they allow the members of the governance team to share perspective on leadership, coaching, mentor and managing. I believe that these programs have not only fostered personal and professional growth among participants, but have also contributed to broader goals of diversity and inclusion, helping to create a more equitable and supportive environment for women in the tech industry. The support of these programs reflects our commitments, Microsoft's commitment locally to empowering individuals and driving positive change through mentorship and support. But bringing this back to a key consideration is in terms of the bottom line. Effective mentor programs fundamentally contribute to the bottom line by improved employee performance, by reduced turnover costs, and by nurturing talents. Organizations build a stronger workforce, positively affecting financial outcomes. Also, as mentioned before, and several of the programs that I called out were mentoring and skilling programs, I believe having the skills for future jobs is not only important, but essential for the growth and sustainability of businesses, as it directly impacts innovation, productivity, and the ability to adapt to rapidly changing market demands.
Yeah, and Martina, I would totally agree with you in regards to the future skills, and that's something that as HR people we have to focus on in regards to, we don't want to be buying in the skills, obviously, if we have to do that, but we want to actually foster that within our own workplace. And a couple of things as well. I've been a mentor in a couple of programs, and sometimes like the experience for the mentor is great as well. You get a lot from it. I found over the last few years, even just to your own experience and building your own confidence and your own network.
Totally. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think it's a two-way learning experience. I personally really enjoy it. And I mean, particularly if you think about I mean, if you look at the AI, AI is not new, but the massive explosion in Gen AI in a short period of time, and the massive amounts of change that is happening in the market globally, seeing how people engage with that rate and pace of change, see how people leverage the technology, see how the technology impacts their day jobs, their lives, their interactions in their communities. It's phenomenal. And I think the mentor-mentee relationship, there's learning in both ways. So I think that from my point of view, it contributes to the core bottom lines of business, and it's very, very powerful and impactful.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I do think that when we're, if we look at as HR leaders, is that often we go to the boardroom and sometimes we're the only people there without numbers. We talk about employee engagement, we talk about employee retention, but I think it's important that when we're going to the boardroom table that we're focusing on numbers as well in regards to how this is actually affecting the bottom line of the business, that we're talking about retention, that perhaps introducing a mentorship program has increased retention by 10%, for example, which actually has a monetary value, or even in regards to upskilling people, things like that. The monetary value of that is huge. And
then also say losing talent in your organization, or losing somebody in your organization who is highly productive and effective today. What is the cost associated with the time lag it takes to find somebody performing at the same level? That's quantifiable.
It's huge, yeah.
And that is something that impacts the bottom line.
Yeah, and I would certainly follow up with that, Martina, in regards to, that's why I would be a massive advocate in regards to flexible working for everybody in the workforce, in that you may have somebody who's worked with you for 10 years, and if now they have to do a drop off at 9 o'clock for a child at school, why do you want to lose that person over 10 minutes?
Totally.
I think it's
totally. I mean, I know in my previous, when I was working in a global role, I literally covered every market in the world. I spent time in China, a lot of time in the States, all the European markets. And I actually arrived at a work, and this goes back to what I said earlier, that I encourage, women leaders, women in management to take control of their career. So I developed a way of working that allowed me to minimize the amount of time away from home. And yet when I was away, I would maximize my face-to-face time in the market. So I got to a point where I would always leave, very early on a Monday and always be back no later than the Wednesday evening, allowing me Thursday to, catch up. And then Friday was more time focused on, personal activities. And I was able to do that, and it was at a global level because I was able to demonstrate that the performance, regardless of the way in which I worked, wasn't impacted.
Yeah, and Martina, I think that's where, if we go back to, I suppose, who should own that role, and that's the, I find sometimes that, again, from a HR perspective, we bring this as an initiative, but it's not really, it can't just be led by HR. It has to come from the top down, right? It's got to be a business decision that you're embracing this, not just inclusivity, but I suppose the want to be able to have a gender balanced workforce, something that promotes, I suppose, inclusivity, equality in all areas. But it can't just be a HR initiative, right? It's got to be an actual management and top-down initiative, I feel.
I agree. Totally.
So Martina, I have a couple of questions here for you. So while you're in the hot seat there, I like this bit where I'm just throwing them over to you. Okay, so Martina, I have a question here, is that I'm a HR manager in a company, and I would love to reduce the gender balance in the engineering tech departments. How do I get the senior management team to see that it would be beneficial to the company?
It would be beneficial to the company. I think that if you are actually able to showcase and demonstrate the skills, because I think when you actually look at actually some core strategies, at the end of the day, the job that you do is always based on the best person for the role. And I think that being able to showcase the skills and the capability and the experience of the individual, to being able to showcase the different perspective, there's a considerable amount of evidence and research that would suggest that diverse points of views, diverse teams contribute to a much more innovative, constructive and productive team environment. So bringing in that different lens and backing it up with the data, I think is a very, very practical and tactical way to ensure leadership buy-in.
Yeah. And Martina, I can't remember, I'm going to steal this quote from somebody, but it wasn't me who said it. It was in a podcast I was listening to a few days ago, that I suppose when you're looking at the DEI initiatives and gender equality and diversity in the workplace, I don't think anybody's advocating for that it should be kind of 50-50, or that somebody should just get that role because they are a female. What we're advocating for from a DEI perspective is that you're broadening the pool of talent that you have, so that you're still getting the best person for the job, but you're now selecting from a broader group of people, right? And that it's not just male focused, it's male, female, everything,
No,
in the team?
I totally agree, and I think also, I mean, look at if you know, I think if somebody's looking to start on a journey, for example, to create a more say diverse workforce, I think that there's a few tactical things that can be done. I think, you know, and I've seen it before, the idea of a diversity audit. So assessing in your current workforce, what is the composition of the current workforce? So that you can actually identify where the gaps are and you can identify the opportunities for improvement and diversity. I think it's also important that you know, diversity goals should be set. They should be clear, they should be measurable for increasing diversity within the organisation. I do think, and I mentioned it earlier, that the likes of a tactical action like revising job descriptions, so ensuring job descriptions are inclusive and free from gendered language, will attract a diverse application pool. I think that the likes of implementing something like a blind recruitment practice, so like identifying information from resumes and applications so that we reduce unconscious bias in the hiring process, is a good approach as well. I've seen the creation of diversity and inclusion committees, and essentially a group which would typically be a group dedicated to driving and monitoring diversity initiatives in the company, is a powerful thing to do. In Microsoft and also in my previous companies, diversity training, you know, is really, really important. And I think diversity training should be provided for all employees, especially for hiring managers, because sometimes, I mean, like unconscious bias, I mean, the key part there is unconscious. So I think that having those types of training programs, which are kind of a mandatory part of your training requirements, which you can monitor, and they monitor participation and completion. I mentioned earlier, you know, work-life balance is important, but implementing policies that supported various lifestyle and family structures, such as the flexible hours and remote work options, is very important. We actually have, you know, we have those policies in place. So you know, you have an agreement where you work X percentage amount of time from another location. And I think things like employee networks, this is important. I think the formation of employee resource groups is important because they provide you know, community and support for underrepresented groups, or just groups in general. And I call that out specifically because particularly with you know, hybrid work environments, it's important that teams are able to find communities and to be part of communities. And those communities don't necessarily need to be that it's specifically in, you know, their day job, in their day team. It can be wider. And I think that you know, that's a very helpful and inclusive way. And I think, you know, regular reviews and adjusting policies will continuously elevate the effectiveness of diversity policies and practices, and will help you know, HR leaders and leaders in general to make adjustments as necessary. So these are the types of things, the types of initiatives that I believe that you know, can be taken to begin or to enhance a more diverse and inclusive workforce.
And Martina, how do you measure that? I mean, is it really just that you see an increase in the diversity, or is it participation, or how do you actually measure success, I suppose?
There's lots of different ways to measure success. I mean, one way to measure success is we would do employee surveys, and those employee surveys will be conducted twice a year, and everybody from the most senior leader to the extended leader encourages everybody in the organisation to provide their input and their feedback, to share what's working, what's not working. And then from that, in terms of, it could be skilling, training, it could be workload, it could be career progression, it could be work-life balance, it could be tech, whatever. All the teams, so the leadership and the management team, pull together their own teams and share openly the collective findings, the trends, and then actually form different work groups to say, well, what can we in our immediate team work on to address, and what at the wider leadership team at a company, at a senior company level, is there something that we can specifically look to address. So I think that that's one example. In terms of, say, going back to the likes of, say, diversity and inclusion initiatives, for example, in my own team, we've kind of openly and collectively talked about the importance of, this notion of thriving. It's a key principle in Microsoft, and to be thriving is, as the word suggests, is to be involved in engaging in meaningful work. And I believe that personally, supporting D&I initiatives can also be really, really key to this. And we have a number of those initiatives at a company level, but also at my own team level, where people actively support skilling training initiatives that maps directly to their own personal motivations and own personal belief systems. And then other practical things like staff turnover, the amount of applications, the per business unit, what is the alignment of, male versus female in each of those roles. So there's many different ways to measure the effectiveness and the impact of these programs.
Yeah, you spoke about a number of programs for companies to run, and many of them are Microsoft programs. Is there funding available for these programs, or how do people, is there, where would you send people if they were looking to kind of start implementing programs for themselves?
Well, the programs that I have spoke about, they're company programs that I have, that we have in place. And I think that, these programs, in terms of funding from these programs, go back to what I said earlier on. Programs need to have the buy-in from leadership. They need to have support at the more senior level of the organization. There needs to be tangible, identifiable business impact for programs. And when you have that kind of quantifiable impact, it's just incorporated into the budgets of the company. So I think that having that, buy-in and making it part of the core business, I think that that's, you incorporate it into the budgets of the company.
I think as well, Martina, that people don't have to, you spoke about, working with Microsoft, and it's a global company with lots of initiatives, and people working in jobs to create those initiatives. For a smaller company, you don't have to be creating, 2 or 3 day programs. You can start to focus at small mentorship programs. They can start small, just to look at kind of some smaller initiatives. I think it doesn't have to be a huge training program, I think.
Of course, and I mean, one example I'll give in that regard, I totally agree with you. So I'm just giving it from my perspective, because my career has always been multinationals. But I mentioned earlier on that my current day job now is the director for the Global Partner Sales Organization. So I've worked with a lot of partners, and several of those partners are domestic, Irish, homegrown companies. And I have many examples, but in terms of, to your point, that they don't have to be massive programs. Okay, and to the point that we've come across a few occasions here is mapping it back to a core need of the business. I have worked personally, and my wider team has worked as well, with one of our partners who actually have a program in place where they support a local. It's actually in this case it's a local charity that is mainly populated with women from diverse backgrounds who are in Ireland and are looking to re-enter the workforce, reskill and re-enter the workforce. And they put in place a training program and a kind of mentoring program, the partner did, for their own staff to support and engage and get involved in. However, a part of that as well is not just skilling and training and mentoring and support. There is the opportunity for the participants in that to actually find work, jobs in that partner. And this is goodness for the people who participate from the charity in that program. But from the partner's point of view, there's a fundamental business case, because finding the right skills is so hard. The market is so competitive. And with a program like this, they're able to find people who they've worked very closely with. They've got their employees engaged in mentoring and supporting the skilling, but now their business is able to plug a gap, which is meeting, filling a sales or filling a role in the organization. So that's not a massive, extensive investment. It's not a massive, extensive program, and yet it addresses many different objectives and achieves many different goals.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that it doesn't have to be this huge thing, and everybody's participating. Martina, I could talk to you for the rest of the day. We haven't even got through to your supercomputer powers yet. But thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. I've really enjoyed it. And I think it's such an important area for people to focus on. I think it's a pity that we're still talking about it, but it's still there, and we don't need to be looking at these huge programs. And then I have a message here from Jenny as well, to make sure I don't forget, just to mention that we are having an event, in-person event on May 15th in Dublin with Guaranteed Irish, and we will be talking about the future of the workplace. And Jenny will be sending out information on that. I have to make sure to put that in, or else I'll get an angry message from her later. But thank you so much, Martina. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I think the key takeaway for me really has been, when you have that aha moment in regards to the role models and how significant it is for women to see that, see that you've been there, you've done it, and that is achievable for people as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
And thank you for the chance to talk and the opportunity, and for inviting me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. And so we shall talk to you all soon.